when I was 19, and I think a lot of people awake when they go through like trauma or disease, stress or grief, and I was out of a really abusive, traumatic situation, and I had always suffered. I was one of those people that my life was really good as a child, but I always had yo-yo depression. It was always up and down. There was no reason for it, like no outsider reason for it. But I got myself in a really bad situation at 19, and I had to move back to my parents' house, and I was just trying to make sense of it. You know, when you go through, it was just heavy. And so I remember waking up every day going, I'm not feeling any better. And I remember turning to my mum one day and I said, you know, when am I going to feel better? Like when? And, you know, and she said, well, you're not at rock bottom yet. You're obviously not at rock bottom yet. And she didn't know what to say. So I was like waiting for this rock bottom feeling. And it was probably about 2 months later after I moved back to my mum's house at the time. And I just had this urge. I woke up one morning and I had this urge to meditate, and I didn't know what it was. I literally thought, I think a lot of people do, that meditation is sitting in a yoga pose and chanting, and that's the only type. And I had no idea. So it was one of those moments, and I can't really describe it because I've never had one of those before that time, but I didn't even think about it. I just grabbed my laptop, sat in my bed and put in meditation and clicked on the first thing and did it. I think looking back, it was a spirit guide meditation. And so I was doing this meditation. All of a sudden I had just felt this immense peace wash over me. Like everything was okay. Everything was okay. Everything was like lovely, and I had never felt that happy before. So and then also in that meditation, I started to see spirits and entities like very clearly, which was really nice because they felt beautiful. It felt lovely. It wasn't scary to me. So I kind of got a bit fixated on meditation because like I've never felt so happy before. So I wanted to like, wow, this is easy to do. Like this is pretty. This is making me feel good. And then on the plus side, I was seeing and connecting to things I'd never thought possible. But I look back on that time, like I'm 26 now, and that was when I was 19. And I honestly, I could have checked out. There was so like I could have easily checked out of this life, and I think I had contemplated that so many times. But I checked in, and I think when you hit a rock bottom, you can check out or you can check in, and I'm so glad I checked in because it could have gone either way, right? So I'm pretty happy with that. But the meditation was just amazing, so I became fixated on it, and I read every book you can, like every known spiritual book at the time that was popular. I think I went to a library and I picked up something that felt like it just felt good. The energy felt good, so I'm going to take it home, and it was A New Earth. And it had little notes in it. Someone had written notes on it, and I read it in a day and a half, and I was fixated on everything. I actually thought I was going crazy though. Like I think a part of me thought I was going nuts, and I remember talking to my mum about it because she was very open-minded, but she hadn't dealt with that sort of stuff before, like hearing and seeing, you know, ETs and like extraterrestrial stuff, or seeing entities, or just hearing stuff, or just anything. So I searched online for psychic and mediums just because I needed someone to give me some clarity. Didn't even know if I was a psychic or a medium. I didn't know what I was doing. And one person said, yeah, come over, I'll give you some, like, I'll talk to you. Which was really lovely, and I'm still friends with her. So she gave me some clarity and confirmed things I was seeing, and I ended up booking with a reading with her anyway. So I went home and I thought, wow, like, okay, I can do this. Like, everything felt good. But even just driving there, like my intuition was so strong at that point, and I think a lot of people's are, like their intuition when they first wake up is just so strong because they just, I guess the resistance, like once they kind of feel that, there's no, it's hard. But now looking back, it's definitely a difference because we can overthink things so much. But yeah, even driving to that lady's house that time, my phone had died, and that was my GPS. And it was about an hour drive, and I was just getting told left, right, and I just trusted that and I got there. So it was a really good time. So my awakening, I was at the start of it all, I had really bad arthritis, so I was really, really sick, in crippling pain, crying all the time, just got out of a really abusive relationship, and yeah, the guy ended up in prison for a few years, and I ended up at home, and then I checked in, so I think, and then I spent the next year going through this massive awakening, while also going through a court case with him. Wow. And it was just the weirdest contrast that whole year. Yeah, I jumped into Reiki straight away, and I jumped into kinesiology, and I didn't even know what it was. It just felt good, and I fell in love with it. Yeah, I did that for a year, and it was good because everyone could work on each other's traumas, and I had so much going on. Yeah, so, and then the court case ended beautifully, even though I was told, because of my brutal honesty, that it probably wouldn't have, but it ended beautifully, and everything just worked out really well. So that was when I was 19, and now it's going through life trying to navigate this human experience, because that first year or two, I felt so homesick. Like, I felt like I didn't know how to be here. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are,
Yes, they're in that same exact position. I mean, I relate with you so much just on that story, too. I mean, even the time frames as well. I feel like it's a combination of our willingness to take in this energy that's available to us, like on the planet, in the actual, energetic field of the planet itself. So it's just really awesome for me hearing these stories, because I'm just picking up on all the coincidences, and it's amazing how many there are, specifically in the time frames of each year too. So I mean, I agree. There are so many people that have a very similar story, and they just don't know how to navigate it. And I'm so happy to hear that your intuition just turned on, and I feel like people are constantly just numbing that out or dumbing it down. They it's alive and it's awake, and then people just listen to the mind or whatever other thing is going on, instead of just using their intuition, because that is our true place. That's our true birthright, to be guided by our intuition and not the brain. And I think this is just big with environment. So many people are just trapped in whatever environment, whether it's a workplace situation or a relationship situation or something. And it's I just I'm all about options, giving people options. So I think as long as there's a different way than people think, because we can just easily get ourselves stuck into a corner and think that that's all there is.
Yeah, definitely. It's just amazing, because once you do check in, it's like a conscious light switch just turns on, and I like using that analogy, because even though I can't turn the light switch off, but it can dimmer a little bit during like hard times or like stress. But so throughout the years, it has like dimmered a little bit, but it's always been on. So I hit it hard, and it was pretty intense, and I thought I was crazy, and I think a lot of people go through that. And I think a lot of it is trying to navigate being here, and finding out your place here, being human, because to me that's always felt a bit new, felt very new. And so I think I would always go out of body. Looking back on it, the first few years, I would always go out of body, like with, like, not consciously, but I would just do it. I'll be having this conversation, be on another planet, and trying to be present here, but somewhere else, and that's more exciting. And looking back, because that was like, wow, this is cool. So I'd always do it, and until one point I got told, no, you have to be here. Like, you chose to come here for a reason. Like, why are you escaping all the time? Exactly. And I didn't even know I was escaping, but I was. So now I don't actually do that often, or I don't dive into all the past life things, because, well, it kind of annoys me a little bit, because I the whole time and linear and everything like that, how time's not linear and everyone's obsessed with past lives. I just think, like, no, there's so many going on. You don't want to obsess over one.
Everybody's obsessed with just, they don't have any clarity. They don't have that sense of purpose like you're describing. So they think that, I made that same mistake getting into yoga and all this mysticism, that, those answers are going to be in my past lives and blah, blah, blah. And you're totally right. I mean, I have the same exact messages when I go into outer body experiences as well. It's like, nope, just come right back, dude. You got to do your work here. All that other stuff is, you know, not important right now. So it's not what we want to hear, you know, all the time, because I think our brains just, whether it's Hollywood or whatever, we get into this like sci-fi kind of thing, and that's just our programming, at least my programming, because of my environment, you know. So once for me, I think what people have to do is really start to get, you know, away from that. You know, for me, it was going to Alaska and getting in nature and just really immersing myself in nature. And then everything just started to happen, upgrade after upgrade, one after another. And it was something that was actually comfortable because my environment was allowing me to be comfortable, versus I feel like a lot of people have these, you know, shift in consciousness or this awakening, and they are not comfortable simply because their environment isn't conducive for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So it's been an interesting journey, and I think at the moment, it's all about being here and diving into everything that I've got to learn in this human vessel, because to me there's no point learning everything else that's out of body, because I can't use it, and I can do that easily, but I can't use that information. It's not going to help me in this human experience. So that's at the moment that my current situation, but the whole awakening thing was pretty intense, and I feel I've spoken to friends that are very like-minded, and they don't go through something traumatic. Like those people in particular, they haven't been through something traumatic. They've just said that they've always kind of just knew like things were different, and they've woke up slowly to spirituality and energy, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I nearly died and I was really sick, and then I contemplated dying, and then I woke up. So I think, the intensity was pretty full on. It's all good. You don't have to compare. You know what I mean? It's not about compare. I do the same thing, and if it makes you feel better, I've done that probably a dozen times at least, you know. And it's something where we're all on our own individual journey. It's very subjective, isn't it? Exactly. And an individual evolution of the soul. That's how I look at it, you know? There's some people that are born into this world, and they've, you know, never had a human body. And there's other people that have had tens of thousands of them. So it just depends, and there's no judgment, you know, on that person. And the thing is that I love, you know, my favorite mantra is just the universe always gives you what you want. So someone like yourself who's very spiritually awake even before this life, you know, you kind of want that already, you know, even though you didn't know it in this life, you know. And then all of a sudden you get this download, this massive shift, you know, and then what you're describing now is just the integration process. It takes a long time to integrate that, you know. Definitely. I feel like it was just so, it was like this beautiful high the first year or two, and then now it's like, okay, try and like learn how to be here, trying to integrate it all, and which is still fun in its own right. But definitely, if anyone's whoever watches this, like the whole experience is so subjective. Like you waking up can happen slowly, or it can happen through grief, or you seek answers because you're going through something that you're not enjoying. But it opened up this big portal to me, you know, healing myself of arthritis and inflammation, and just, the whole trauma, learning what you want and navigating it, and choosing what you want instead of just being a victim, because I was like that all my life. I was like, poor me, the whole probably not the whole 19 years, but a good portion of it.
I totally know what you mean,
so choosing it wisely. So, I spent the first year, I remember I got a job in an office, and I was there for a while, and I was there, and I would just be like seeing entities all the time and hearing them and knowing that they were there, and I would be able to obviously differentiate the ones that had passed over well and hadn't. And I spent my time in the office sometimes when I was bored, there was nothing to do, in my mind helping the ones pass over well. And I remember telling someone that once, and she said, "Don't do that. There's too many. Don't help the people, like souls that need to go over, that need to pass over well." But at the time, I was like, "Well, this feels good. You know, these souls need help," and it was so I would spend some time doing that, and then other times it would be, you know, channeling all sorts, and extraterrestrial stuff, or just healing with my hands and walking up to strangers or people in my family and just putting my hands on them. So, the awakening was pretty full on. And that confidence, so I'll try anything because this is so new. Yeah.
Awesome. So what do you, I'm just curious, like, what do you do now after, like, just, are you a healer? Do you do Reiki? Is it something that you just practice, like, for a living now? Or is it something that you just kind of do for fun? Or I'm just curious.
Yeah. So at the moment I have done energy healings ever since that all started, really.
Yeah.
I did readings for quite a long time, and lots of people know me for that, but it hasn't been something I really enjoy. Yeah. So I've kind of drifted from that part. I would much rather teach you about your intuition. I'm helping you straight the intuition than you getting answers from me. Yes. But yeah, I'm studying to be a naturopath and a nutritionist, and that's something that's taking up a lot of time, that naturopathy. So
no, that's wonderful, because that's where I resonate too. I feel like people, I get into all the mysticism, and it's just wonderful, but we have to bring it back to earth, and bring it back to something tangible where we can, practice. And for me, especially, very similar story to you with, how the spiritual things affected your physical form, right? The arthritis you're describing and things. And that's where I really want to drive home that message here, as far as, everything is energy. And whether it's, diet choices or whatever practice that we have, a spiritual practice, things are going to affect everything in our life. So the food we eat, the air we breathe, the water, all of those things, and we need to make that connection for that, holistic approach for people to really, take this into their own life and empower others to stop living that victim mentality and actually, empower themselves to start doing these techniques. Because what you're describing is literally all of our potential. It's our potential in life. And for me, it's beautiful because I just love thinking about how it doesn't end. Like, this is endless, It's infinite past this life and beyond. It's something that will never stop. So it's just exciting, It's just exciting to think about it like that.
Definitely. It's so exciting. Bringing it all together. The first few years, it was just all about spirituality and just energy healings, because I was learning to heal myself, and so I wanted to help other people heal from that perspective. Yes. But then I noticed that you've got to bring it all together, because it's not just your, it's not just trauma or your emotions affecting your body. And well, most of it is, but a lot of it can be the food that you're eating and the environment you're around that plays, a big impact on how everything's affecting your body, physically anyway, and mentally and emotionally and spiritually. And I got so annoyed just with the doctors and how they treated me, because I think at 18, when I got diagnosed, they said, the way that you're deteriorating, you'll be in a wheelchair by 25, and I'm 26, and I'm fine. But it wasn't until I got off the meds, went natural, and started to notice how my thoughts were. I had a bit of a mentor at the time that I spoke to online, and she was always telling me that when I had a flare-up, to notice my thoughts. What was I feeling, how I was thinking, and then see if you can change that and see how your body reacts. So I started doing that, and this is all in the first few months. I started to experiment with everything, and my thoughts and how conscious I was became more conscious. And there was one particular time I was in a shopping mall, and I was a lot heavier at the time, and I was wearing a t-shirt and like a top, and it felt a bit tight. And so when I was really inflamed, I checked in and I thought, okay, I don't like what I'm wearing. I felt very insecure. Like, okay, let's take some action. What can I do? So I ran into a shop, got something else that felt comfortable, put it on, and I just felt at ease. Like, 50% of the inflammation just lessened. So that was my way of my natural anti-inflammatory. And I'm not saying that's the easiest way, because it's the hardest way, because you've got to actually be so conscious and then take some action or change how you feel, and some things are so intense, how you, like the emotions you feel, you've really got to sit and face them, and that's uncomfortable if you're in public, let's say that. So that was the first I guess few steps of getting off the drugs and kind of naturally healing. But I realised everything affected me, and going back to plant-based diet, I was thinking how everything was affecting my body. So when I was talking to someone, how I kind of felt talking to them, and what I was eating, how that made my body feel, because I was always in pain, and I wanted to kind of just help solve this or find some sort of balance. And I noticed wheat was a big thing, so I had to cut out wheat. And then I noticed dairy. I was vegetarian already. I did vegetarian when I was a teenager, but I did it poorly. And then I ate meat a little bit, and then I stopped because it just didn't feel right for me. But it didn't really make me feel sick. It was just more, it didn't resonate. But dairy and wheat I had to cut out because my body just didn't like it. And then once I realised, I guess, the system and what's going on with our wheat and what's going on with our dairy and everything, it made it feel more like it helped the decision a lot more.
Totally.
So that started a few years ago, and now it's just you're just so conscious of who you're around and what you're putting into your body, because everything plays a part. You have this thought or this emotion, and it's going to get stored somewhere. And that's what I learned when I was doing kinesiology, is that everything's getting stored in these muscles. Everything's getting stored in the body. So if you're not going to, if something arises, or inflammation, or someone wakes up and they have a sore elbow and they blame it on a really bad sleep, to me it's like, well, maybe you had a really bad sleep, but you probably had some sort of motion there on an energetic level that's just held there, and it's manifested, and you can blame it on sleep on a physical level if you want. It's up to you, but I think that's just like how it's physically manifested, but it starts from the energetic first. So now it's all, and I think I can look back and go, it was really intense at the beginning, but it's also quite difficult when you're so in tuned on another level, and then you're trying to walk this body, because you're always getting, whether it's downloads or channelings, or whether you're connected to mediumship really well, or you're just that inner knowing about all sorts of things all the time, and then you've got to walk this life, and the dimensions are very different. So that's still a bit of an issue sometimes, but I worked up a beautiful bubble of knowing what I can do and knowing what I want to do, and then striving for that. But that was a big thing for a while, trying to navigate those dimensions.
It is. I mean, it's a daily practice. I mean, as you know, it's something we just do every single day.
Hang on, you've got blank. Your voice.
No problem. A hair car or something. You good? Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
No, it was just what was I saying? The downloads and everything. It's just we can there could be 10 people in one room and all be in different dimensions. So it's very confusing, like on the surface, like in the physical, and we just live in a world where people are just shallow. They only believe what they see and stuff. So it's something you can't really just talk about very openly, And that's why, I mean, for me, that's why I started, being on social media and stuff, because I was the guy that lived. I didn't even have a cell phone a few years ago or anything, and I was just living off the grid, because that's what I had to do to maintain my energy. Because that, the things that you're describing, everyone kind of has to do their own thing to just maintain homeostasis, And for me, a big part of that is just nature, and I get very thrown off because I can hear all these, subtle energies and different things that are not typical for most people. So it's just hard to explain, and I get very exhausted quickly if I don't prepare that right environment for myself to just maintain. So it's kind of fun, hearing echoing, experiences from you, and I'm sure people, watching are going to have similar experiences as well. And I hope, that people just hone in on what those abilities are. That's the thing. People. I think the biggest thing with this is just self-doubt, Immediately the brain just wants to say, oh, that didn't happen, or that's not true, or whatever. And, when we stop listening to that and just let everything else arise, that's when all these miracles and just magic just starts happening. So it's just a matter, for me, I kind of look at it as just a willingness, just the willingness to let it happen. It's like there's abundance consciousness, everything, all that stuff is happening 24/7, and we are the ones blocking it with our own, belief system and our own projections.
Overthinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And even that one day when I was meditating, I didn't overthink it. It was this urge, and I've had many since that moment of just, I've got to do something, and you don't think about it because something beautiful is going to come out of it because you understand it now. But at the time, I had never experienced that before. But because I didn't overthink it, it was like this magical portal just opened up, and it was crazy intense. But I have noticed it's so easy to overthink everything. It's so easy to go, was that my intuition? Was that my logical mind? Or was that spirit from, giving me a beautiful message? Or wasn't because that person, it's so easy to overthink everything, but I honestly think it comes down to what feels good, what comes from a loving source.
Yes.
You know, you could use the spirit analogy if you want, and I'm talking about spirits a lot, and it's not something I'm not this huge medium or anything, but I think that was a big part of my awakening, was connecting with the afterlife and entities. But they you can use it as a metaphor. Like, if you are not really sure if this entity is coming from a loving place or if this is not, check in to see how you feel when you're interpreting it, and what perspective does it hold within you. Does it make you feel good, or does it come from a loving place? The intention behind it, and that's the only way you really know.
Sure.
Just the vibe you get off of it. But I had to learn all of that, because there's times where I would channel things or entities that wouldn't feel that great, and I would have to learn how to protect and how to ground and all the basic principles that I think a lot of people don't do.
Yes.
And now it's learning to protect and to ground, and then to connect, obviously, everywhere you go. But at the start, you're just so new.
It's excitement, it's passion. Yeah, we get excited, you know, and I totally understand. And the prerequisites just get skipped, you know, just like anything else. That's why, you know, people just want McDonald's. They don't want to go home and make a meal, you know what I mean? It's the same thing. And I totally get it. And this awakening that you're describing, you know, I just want to say this. People, this is like the first realization that we are not physical, like that we are more than just human, right? So when you're describing, that's all I can think about, because you had this breakthrough and now you can't go back. You can't go back just to this, you know, waking life and the zombie mode and blah, 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 because you've expanded your consciousness to the point where you can't fit it back into this little shell anymore, you know? And that's really the point I want to drive home. We are so much more than what, you know, we see here. It is like just huge. And, you know, the way the universe works, you know, we can only comprehend so much, and that's just how it works. So I think people just want to get excited about all that other stuff, and it's just important to kind of come back and remember that we are not this body. We are not our thoughts. We are not these things, and we are so much more, and it's beyond our comprehension. So don't even try to, you know, think about it. Just enjoy it.
Definitely. I say this to a lot of people, because we try and understand. You have a channeling or some sort of amazing epiphany or realization about, you know, just things beyond our comprehension, and then you might be meditating, for example, and experience so much beauty in that meditation, and then you kind of step out of it, and it's almost like you're trying to integrate what you just experienced. But it's really difficult for your brain to do that a lot of the times, because it's a third-dimensional brain. Let's say, like, from a dimensional perspective, it's a third-dimensional brain. Let's say you're channeling something from the fifth dimension. You're then trying to find logical reasoning in this brain. It doesn't work. And so I got stuck on that a lot of the times, trying to find reasoning in things I was experiencing. But if it feels good and it resonates with you, just don't, the whole overthinking process that we'll get caught in. Like, we have to stop with that, because we definitely, like you said, we definitely stop ourselves from all of the magic and everything going on when we start to overthink everything. We put up these roadblocks. So it's pretty intense once you awaken, because you can't go back. Like, everything's just so beautiful and it's infinite. And the knowing that you don't need to listen to anything that comes from fear and take that on as your own. You know, you don't need to put on the 7 o'clock news and get brainwashed by it, because, you know, I started to notice in those early days how, because everything was so fresh and I could feel how everything was affecting me, just putting, like, my parents had the news on. And it made me feel really sad, and it was just brainwashing and fear and fear and fear. And I was thinking, why do we put this on every day? Why do people put it on every day? So when I moved out, I didn't have a TV for years. I think my dad even told me once, well, why don't you have a TV? Like, you know, what if someone brings up in conversation, you know, have you seen this? And you're not going to know what to say. And I was like, but that's not a good enough reason to watch TV, so I can hold a conversation about what's on TV. So it was just, noticing how everything affects, and not having to, I guess, get caught up in the fear of everything, because it's everywhere. And once you step into that fear, it's then contagious, and you're putting that message out there. And it's the same with activism. As much as I love the vegan movement and plant-based movement and just everything, I think it's great. People get so angry when it comes to activism, and I look at it, and I know a few people like that, and I just look at it going, from an energetic standpoint, how are you helping so much when you're coming from anger and resistance, So it's more finding your truth and then just trying to come from a place that's going to be as loving as possible.
I hear you 100%. I do the same thing. I think, a lot of the activism, it's just a lot of passion. We all have that passion, especially in the beginning, because you realize the abuse and everything that's happening, and you're right, anger doesn't cure other anger, And for me, I learned that, thankfully, learned it very quickly, and what I the answer for me is if you just focus on yourself, focus on your meditation practice, focus on the peace that you can create in your own body, and everything will mirror that on the outside. So I immediately stopped putting all that, anger into the world and all that passion, because it's just energy, and I wanted that energy to come into me and into my practice. So
beautiful.
That's something that I've really taken to heart, and after these years, I've definitely noticed everywhere I go, it's just beautiful. It's just peace. It's just love, because that's what I'm emitting, And I could go to the most horrific. I've seen so many things, but I don't let myself get to that level, because it doesn't take me over, because I'm staying in my field and my energy source, and just staying in that field as much as possible and maintaining that energy. So you're totally right, and especially right now, it's just as we the future goes on, people, because of the internet and stuff, are going to get more aware, and it's just going to keep happening in waves. And that's why for me, with my content and everything, I'm always just going to come back to meditation or yoga, some sort of spiritual practice, because I know a lot of vegans and a lot of raw vegans or whatever that are eating great and stuff, but they are not happy people, or I know a lot of people that are meditators and yogis and all that stuff, and they're not happy people because of what they're eating, So it's not about any of those things. It's just, it comes back to just balance and whatever practice, like you're saying. And I love how you put that with just, what feels good to you, just follow that. Because at the end of the day, that's really all you need to do.
It's beautiful, and it all starts with going within. So my journey, it all started with going within, and with meditation, if you use that as a standpoint to go within, it's almost like you're finding your alignment within, and then everything's just clearer. You can you're able to notice what you resonate with more, and you're able to follow that, because you're not getting caught up so much with the fear and the overthinking and the logical thought. So definitely go back to the basics. It's not really basics, because some people, I guess, find it quite difficult when they're starting off, but at the same time, it is really the basics. Going within should just be your everyday, take your 5 minutes. And I used to, all the time, just go to the bathroom when I was working, because I used to work in a construction company for years, when I was awakening and doing all sorts of stuff, and it was beautiful. But I would get the energy around me in the office was just horrible. So I would always go and probably looked horrible, because I would always take a lot of bathroom breaks, but I would have to just go in there just to sit down and just be like, okay, take a few deep breaths and calm yourself, because then you're better aligned to things instantly. It's really great. And I too know lots of people that quote unquote very spiritual people are following different spirituality, I guess, trends, I guess you can say, that aren't happy. And it's because they're not going within, and they're just doing what's expected, they think is expected from them, from like a stereotypical point of view. But from feeling like yo-yo depression, I can't remember. It's really sad, actually, looking back on it, because my childhood was really great. But when I was in school, I thought about suicide so many times, and that's not healthy, but that's like the wave. And when I was happy, it was always attached to something. I was always, I was excited. I was a really big comfort food eater. I was excited about what I was about to eat, or someone just complimented me, or I did really well in something. But it wasn't just because I was happy. And that's what I found out when you can just look within and just all of a sudden feel happy for no reason. And I think that's half the reason I felt crazy, because this is, so new.
Because it's such a gap, it's such a shift. I totally hear you.
Yeah, such a big shift. But you can just feel happy for no reason, and then you will have reasons to feel happy because you're already feeling that way. So that was pretty cool. And now you just know that you can do that whenever. You can go internally and switch that on. And I think a lot of people as well, that's a good point to make on that subject, is people get caught up with the manifestations of everything to only think of the positives and the and positive focus is everything. Don't say a negative word because you're going to attract more negativity, and people get really intense with that. And I just didn't really agree with that. I think for a little while I was like that. I suppressed how I felt when emotions would come up all the time because I wanted to just feel happy because I knew I could. But I would have all these emotions come up, just residue of that trauma, let's say, or just feelings. And I realised I actually had to face things. And that sounds really difficult, and I don't think a lot of people know how to face how they feel. But to me, it just looks like sitting down, looking within, and there's so many different ways you can obviously do this, but sitting down and looking within and having a dialogue with that emotion just to coming to some understanding of why it's there. But until you really, you've got to deal with what the emotions are coming up, what emotions are, because they're just going to keep manifesting. I think a lot of people with the subconscious and the consciousness, I guess everyone learns about the law of attraction, everything's vibrating, everything's going to create, but you've got your subconscious and you've got your consciousness. And so if you're not going to deal with the emotions coming out that are, I guess, hidden from you in that subconscious level, because you keep suppressing them, they're still vibrating. So you're still going to be getting situations and experiences in this lifetime because of that. So it's really important still to make peace with everything that does come up. So that was a big point. I think a lot of people kind of have to come to peace with and understand, because it's not all of just think a happy thought and everything's going to be okay all the time.
No, that's beautiful. Well put. I mean, it's definitely, you got to hit it on all layers, and the subconscious is ruling the game right now, and a lot of people can't really understand that, and it's something where when you describe it, it was really, really beautiful, and the way I look at it is just, it's the lack of heart, it's the lack of courage, that's all it is. If you just, a little courage goes a long way to face, the emotions or the difficulties in our life, and the only time there is resistance to those emotions or difficulties, that's when traumas and things start to, or difficulties start to build up. So, the way you kind of get through this after a process, it just becomes preventative maintenance. I just look at my feelings when they come up, so they don't have to, progress and bottle up and things. So it's all preventative maintenance now. So I feel like people have to, do that work to kind of catch up, and you start to build up that foundation again. After undoing all of the old traumas from, childhood and such, and the programming all the way through high school is what most of us have. And after you kind of declutter all that, you just get back to that neutral position and you're good. You're pretty much good. There's nothing else to really, worry about or whatever. You got to undo all that stuff and just get to a clean slate. I mean, that's kind of how I look at it. And someone like yourself who's done that work, it's just a huge burden. You just lifting all this stuff off your shoulders. I mean, so many people are carrying all of these burdens for just no reason. I mean, it's something that I bonk my head over all the time, just, witnessing it. And I just genuinely want to help people, and they really, like you said, the only way to do this is by going within, by going inward to yourself and addressing it. That's the only way to do this. That's it.
I lost your voice a little bit at the end there, but yeah, definitely. I think an important note with that though is that I would do the work, and then all of a sudden I'd have these emotions come up, and I would go, why didn't I do it properly? Like, didn't I deal with all of this? Like, why is it coming up? Like, years later I would have all these feelings come up that I thought I dealt with, and then from a physical level, that's the same deal. The important thing that I had to learn was healing isn't linear. Healing's not going to be this straight road. It never is. And your spiritual awakening is not going to be a straight road either. But healing is going to be like up and down, and things are going to come up. I like to look at it as layers. So if you're dealing with this layer here and you don't feel like you need to go any deeper in that moment, when you're ready, when you're at a position that you're like ready for it, this other emotion that's ready to be released, or this acknowledged, or anything will come up. So even the other day I was thinking and feeling this shame about what I had experienced years ago. And I was like, wow, this is interesting. This is coming up again. So I think I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I think other people do as well, to be able to just snap our fingers and be done with how our childhood or trauma or disease or anything. And unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. No. Like you've got to go through that process. Yeah.
No, that's beautiful. But I do the same thing. I like to just picture an onion, the onion layer, and it's something where it takes like a lot of courage to address these traumas. And if especially if you're doing it alone, it's very challenging. It helps if you have other people who are in your life that are going to stay in their heart and create that space, because it's very important to have as much energy as possible going into that practice to really question and dig deep in that moment to get all of it out. And as you know, it's like it's going to come up years later when you're ready for it. I've seen this happen a lot in yoga classes. I've literally seen people just during last night just drop to the ground and start crying because they hit that special place in their body and finally released that trauma, and it just came to the surface, and witnessing everything just get healed on all levels instantaneously. I've seen that happen multiple times, and it's something where, like I said, if we just facilitate it, and focus on the environment and just allow it to happen, it will. It will, and that meditation is the facilitator to that practice, because that's all we have to do is show up. Yeah.
Definitely. And speaking about meditation, because like I said, when I was so, I guess, unaware of meditation at the very beginning or throughout the first how many years of my life, I just thought I was sitting in a yoga pose and chanting, and that was what was, I guess, the go-to. Yeah. It was the only thing. And I think a lot of people are still like that haven't really awoken to spirituality or energetic, the energy at all. And I think it's really important to understand that meditation is so broad. It's this huge, broad umbrella. So we can talk about this word, but it doesn't actually have to mean that you can sit there and close your eyes and that's the only way that you can be meditating, to sit in that pose or anything like that. Some people find meditative states of consciousness just doing something that they love to do, like art or something creative, and or even just feeling really good can put you in a meditative state. Yes. And so I think that's important to note, because a lot of people think that everything has to be a certain way or one way, and it's quite a broad umbrella. And I remember in the early days going to a meditation class, and this lady said that I had to sit in this certain way, and I had to, it was just everything that she said was very structured. And I was with my mum at the time. We looked at each other going, okay. So we just did it for the class. But I don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy how things have to be a certain way. You can do your own spin or whatever feels good for you, because that's where you're going to get the most benefit. Yeah,
so you have to customize
it's a broad term.
Yeah, definitely it's it's a very broad term, and it's something where it's just whatever resonates the most with you, and that's really it. Well, awesome. Exactly. This has been so fun, Rebecca. I'm about out of time here, and this has been so fun. I just want to thank you for taking the time to connect and sharing your story. That's so beautiful. And I think so many people are going to benefit from this. It's crazy how many people are just experiencing the same thing, and it just takes a little information and a little bit of guidance, and everything I think will unravel, that much more effortlessly, rather than making everything complicated and trying to comprehend it and blah, 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 So,
definitely.
Yeah, just want to thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you. It's been a really good chat, and I just think that even just someone listening to my story, your story, anyone's story, and just having that ability to relate to